the first thing I want to share with you is my intention for my talk today. I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. How does that sound? How does that feel? Wonderful. So I'd like to start by sharing a story with you about my brother. I did a process in the fall, and I'll share the book. It was based on this book and was shared with me by a friend who I really respect. He's 70 years old and he's doing what he loves. He is living that life more abundantly. And I said, what's going on? Because I see a big change in him. He's always been so vibrant and alive, but he moved to a whole other level. And he said, well, it's this book, which is basically a 10-week process that takes you out of the head and into the heart. And I thought, well, I want to do that. So I got the book, I began doing it, began having some really powerful experiences, which I shared with my brother. And the reason I wanted to share it with my brother was as I was going through this process in my heart, I kept getting this message from Spirit, I want more brother time. One of the reasons I moved to the Bay Area is because my brother is in Santa Cruz, and it was a chance for me to be close to him. When my mom passed about 7 years ago, part of going through that journey with her at the end, me and my brother came to sort of a crossroads. He was 2 years older than me, and so much of my story is based in that brother stuff. You know, not feeling like I was getting enough attention, him always being angry at me because I was getting whatever attention I did. We had a real, you know, basically for most of my childhood, I remember I just kind of hated my brother. He was mean, he never wanted me to hang around, I always wanted his attention, so the only way I could get it was to tease him, and then he would beat me up. So, we grew up and our lives moved in different areas. He stayed here in California. I moved to New York City to be a star, to pursue my dreams. And I've been living there for a number of years when my mom put together all our home movies on video. Once after video came in, she got all those old Super 8 films, put them on video, and I stuck the tape in when she sent it to me. And there I was at my sister's 3rd grade birthday party. This goofy little kid kind of, you know, dancing around. My brother came home from Catholic school in his little uniform, and I danced up to him, threw my arms around him, and gave him a big kiss on the cheek. And he looked at me with this glowing smile like, wow, that's my brother. And it blew me away, because I had no conscious memory that we ever really loved each other. But it was so clear in that video, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking of it, seeing those two little boys and the love that was there. And I made a wish right then, which was, I'd like to find that again. I'd like to find that. A number of years later, when my mom was sick, really it was the last couple of days of her life. When a parent dies, it can bring up stuff for the kids. And so I was mad at him because he wasn't doing enough, and he was, you know, all this stuff was going on, and my mom could tell. She was very intuitive to begin with, and especially when you get to those last few days, you're just so tuned into spirit, you know what's going on. At least that was my experience with her. And my brother was leaving. He'd come down to stay with her for a couple of days, and he was going back to his home in Santa Cruz, and I was there, and I was really her major caregiver at that point. And he left the room to go pack up his stuff, and she said, your brother's going to go back up to Santa Cruz. Don't you want to go out to his car and help him carry his stuff? I kind of looked at her. He didn't have that much stuff. And she said, you guys need to connect. Your brother's really a good guy. And so I said, all right, it's still really good. She could tell. And so I walked into the car, and as I walked out, I said, okay, she said, tell him what you need. Tell him what you need. And so I walked into the car and I said, you know, Dick, what I really want or need is for us to find what was in those home movies, to find that love. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, me too. And so my move to Santa Cruz partly was about that. We sort of reached a truce after that time, and my mom passed. And I did my best to let go of my story about things, and he did his best to let go of his. And so a lot of times we would get together, and and there just wasn't that much communication, because what we were so used to doing was going into that old bickering. And I could see him stifling himself when he would start to criticize me, and I would do the same thing. Then I did this process, and I got that hit that I want more brother time. And so I sent him a text. Said, I would love to have more brother time. Period. This is what I want. I put it out there. And he wrote back and said, sounds great. So there, the groundwork was laid, but then as things often happen, it took a number of weeks for us to finally get together. And each time something else would come up, there was my story again. See, he doesn't really want to get together. I'm always putting myself out there, and he's never coming back. And I said, okay, that's your story. What do you want? So I wrote back, well, that date doesn't work for you. How about this? So we went back and forth, back and forth. Finally, the day came we were supposed to get together. Coming back from Unity of Ukiah, and spoke there that morning. Go over the Golden Gate Bridge. Stop at a little rest stop where I was going to say, once I get back into town, I'll send you a text or call you, because we'll figure out a place to meet. Figure out the place to meet, get back in my car, I have a flat tire. And I thought, we're just not meant to get together. This is it. And then this voice inside me said, no, you're going to get together. This too shall pass. This will be fixed. I made that moment to ask Spirit. Someone knocks on my window and says, hey, you have a flat tire. I said, yeah, I know. He said, I'll help you fix it. Because I was going to have to call someone I didn't know about my darn car. But he said, get your manual out, blah, blah, blah. Within 10 minutes, the car was fixed. I'm at the place where I'm meeting my brother. He's there with his current girlfriend and her daughter, and they're trying to move people in. It took us 45 minutes to get out of the house. One of the things I'd said in my text is I want brother time, which means just you and me. Because we've spent a lot of time together since I've been in the San Francisco area, but it's never just the two of us. There's always other stuff going on, and my soul wanted that real connection. And so I'm stifling my story, saying, okay, we'll get out of here. He's got to do all this stuff. Finally, get outside. We make a plan to go to the Castro Fair. And the minute we get outside, he gets on his cell phone. And I'm going, come on. We're getting together now. He's on his phone. So I have this whole story in my head. As soon as he gets off, I'm going to say, well, Dick, we're supposed to get together. And I'm waiting for all this time. And then you're going to get all my story was going to come up. And I said, wait a minute. What do you want? I want to connect authentically. What do you want from him? I want him to see who I am. So I said, okay, give that to him. So he hung up, and I have to say it was like pulling IT not to go into, Dick, blah, 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 blah. I bit my tongue, I put my arm around him, and I said, so, how are you, brother? And he began to share exactly what was going on. He's the one that's made all the money, that's been successful. He was the son that my mother always wanted, and I was the leg up. I was the black sheep of the family. And so I listened to what he said and realized that he was going through exactly what I was. The circumstances on the outside were different, but the feelings, all the worries and concerns and the stresses of life was just exactly what I was going through. And after he shared it, I held up my hand and I said, yeah, welcome to the club. And we spent a beautiful afternoon together. Beautiful afternoon together. And one of the gifts of it was, because it was really part of this presence process, is me being able to detach from my story and be authentically in the here and now, in who I am. And so, as I was with my brother, I was really seeing who he was separate from the story I told him. I'm the sensitive one, I'm the one who's spiritual, I'm the one who doesn't care about money, I just want to be in life and everything, and he's the one who just went after money, he's only interested in himself, blah, 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 this whole story. So we're waiting for the BART, and this woman comes along with her dog and her cane, and she had not sunglasses on, but regular glasses, and I looked at her eyes, and I could see she was kind of focusing on things, so I thought, this is me, I hate to admit it, but I thought, oh, she just wanted to get her dog in the subway with her, and she's faking it. That's really what I thought. And my brother, without thinking, immediately went up to her, bent over because she was moving forward and the train was coming in. He said, oh no, this isn't express. The next train should be here in 5 minutes. And she said, oh, thank you, and squeezed his arm. And there was this connection, and I just stood there going, wow. The story in my head is I'm so this and he's so that, and here's the reality. I'm this suspicious, in that moment, this suspicious, negative person who wants this woman trying to get, and my brother is just this open-hearted, loving person. So I shared that with him when we go on the subway. I said, you know what's going on with me? And we laughed. We laughed so hard, and the stories just melted away. So I tell you that story, and then I'm going to ask you a question, which is what my talk is about. Are your needs being met? No? See people shaking their heads. Whose needs are being met? Good, we got a couple. So I invite you to open to the idea that your needs are being met. All of your needs are being met right here, right now. Or you would not be right here, right now. Spirit is always giving you exactly what you need in the moment. Your wants are a different thing. What do we want, right? And our wants can drive us crazy because the ego mind wants to figure out those wants. Joseph Campbell said, I don't believe people are looking for the meaning of life as much as they are looking for an experience of being alive. I think that's what we want. We want that experience of being alive. And yet what we do so much is we get up in our head in that story thinking we're not enough because we don't have those wants, and then we're angry because we don't have them. So that brings me to another one of my favorite quotes, which is, the kingdom of heaven is within. So our wants and our needs are not outside us. They're in here. They're in the heart. So let's just take a moment and breathe into that heart. Notice what that feels like. Doesn't mean we want our wants to go away. Our wants are spirit, our desires are spirit speaking to us. The word desire means of God or of spirit. But everything that we want, all those things that we want, ultimately is because of the feeling we think it's going to give us. And when we breathe into our heart, right here, right now, that's our feeling place. That's where the feelings come from. So nothing on the outside is as powerful as what's on the inside. This is the cause. Everything on the outside is just the effect. So if you want to change your life, if you want to change the experience, you go to the cause. It's like if I'm heading to, if I want to get to Fremont, I don't change and I'm suddenly on the wrong road. I don't get out and erase the road sign that says, oh no, I'm in Fremont. I follow the directions to go to Fremont, to go within, to go to that feeling. So, are you living in your head or in your heart? Are you living in the meaning, trying to figure life out, trying to figure out how it works, trying to figure out what's wrong with you because you don't have what you want? Or are you living in the experience of life? Which means no matter what is going on, it's supposed to be happening to you. Your soul is in charge. We choose what we say about what's showing up, what our feeling is. And what if that unity principle was true? There was only one power and one presence active in myself and in the universe. God, the good, omnipotent. What if that was true? We come here and we say we believe it, but do we live it? Because to me, that statement means that whatever is showing up in my life right now is right. It's good. It's there for my benefit. It's there for my purpose. We spend so much time up in our heads, really because we're afraid of the experience of really being alive. Because you know what? When you're really alive, things are going to happen. Your buttons are going to get pushed. That feeling center is going to keep saying, I'm here. And that's what the presence process is about. It encourages you to celebrate when those buttons get pushed. Because it's the feeling. It brings me to my acting background. As an actor, when I was studying acting early in my life, we celebrated those crazy emotions. We wanted to find that emotional memory. We wanted to go to those places where we felt jealous, where we felt anxious. We were working on a part those were the best parts. Those people that went into those feeling places. When we go to a movie, we don't want to hear a lot of intellectual stuff for us, people explaining to us what life is about. We want to see those people on the screen having an experience of life. And we sit in the theater and have it with them. That's what makes it powerful. So I'm going to come back to that quote of Jesus. I've got one of my favorite guys, JC. A lot of good quotes from him. A lot of good stuff from him. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. And what is the thief? Ego. The thief is that story. That thing that tells us in our head that this shouldn't be happening, that this isn't right, this is happening because I did something wrong yesterday, or as a child, or my parents did this to me and they shouldn't have. It's the thing that steals the heart out of life and makes us think it should be different. It should be different. So what's your story? What's the feeling? The story is the past and the future. The feeling is right here and now. So I invite you this week, and if you have some free time this afternoon, I invite you to join me in my workshop, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of tools of how to do this. But I invite you this week to honor the feelings and be willing to attach them from the story. The story is almost always designed to try to fix the feeling, to try to do something different. And when we're trying to avoid the feeling, which is what's here and now, we're meddling around with the effect. And what I'm encouraging you to do is go into the feeling. Go into the feeling. The feeling is healing. That's what allows us to be present. And also look at the questions you're asking yourself. Are you asking yourself, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Or are you asking yourself, how can it get any better than this? It's a great question, because it's applicable no matter what's happening. If you're going through a struggle, you can say, how can it get any better than this? And the great thing about that question is, gratitude is implied in the question. You're owning that the fact that you can ask the question, you know there's some good stuff in your life. You're here. You're able to experience. And how can it get any better means you're always calling forth from spirit. What's the understanding about this situation? What's going to move me to the next thing? Powerful things about questions is the choices we make around them. Ask, and ye shall receive. Jesus didn't say ask, and then jump up in your head and try to figure out how to make it happen. If you can't figure it out, then blame yourself or blame somebody else and get pissed off and then just sit in the house. No. Ask, and ye shall receive. So when we ask from the heart, get the story out of it. Don't try to figure things out. It brings us to that other powerful, powerful word, which was up there a lot at the beginning of the service. That word, faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet here. So faith means we ask in the heart. And then take a breath and turn it over to spirit. Turn it over to spirit. How many people would like to be able to stop all the thinking chatter that goes on in your mind? Blah, 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 blah. Isn't that partly why we come here? We can stop, we can sing, we can breathe, we can be together. The great thing about coming in today and seeing some friends that I had seen before last time I was here and meeting some new friends is when you're in a Unity church and it's Sunday morning, people say hi. And then they stop and just kind of look at you. The ego jumps in and says, oh wow, this is kind of an uncomfortable silence. I don't really know what to do yet. But yet the heart says, but it feels good just to be here. Just to look in somebody else's eyes and connect. That's what I was longing for with my brother. And that's what we found that day and have continued to find. We explained living in the question. Good question. Wonderful. Okay. How's my time doing? Am I doing good?
Good.
Good. Okay. So I did want to go into a little bit more of quoting from my favorite guy from the Bible, Mr. J.C., our brother and Savior, who is always here in our heart. Isn't that what he came to tell us? I'm living in your heart, that Christ consciousness, that Christ awareness. Christ consciousness is not up in our head, it's in our heart. You know, amazing thing that I learned recently, that I love science because now finally science is just confirming all the stuff that we know in unity and in spirit, that God is everywhere. Consciousness is one and it exists in everything. And the thing I learned recently is that the electromagnetic field of the heart is much greater than the brain. Much greater than the brain, and it moves around us in like this fountain of energy, and they haven't developed tools that are strong enough to measure how far out that field goes. They know it goes out about 3 feet because that's what these instruments can measure, but they have a sense that it may go out much farther. So as we sit in this room, we are all in one big collective heart. And we're all like fountains of this electromagnetic energy. And there are many, many more electromagnetic messages that are going from your heart to your head than there are from your head to your heart. So just scientifically, this heart center is the center of our being, this radiating fountain of energy. So, what I want to talk, and I'm not going to, well, maybe I will read this. Faith. This is about faith. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary, and in the fourth watch of the night Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, is it a spirit? As they cried out for fear. No, is it a spirit? As they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee, unto the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come on to the ship, all the wind ceased. So we've all heard that story, right? Christ walking on water. And, you know, we wonder, did that actually happen? Did Jesus perform these miracles, or is it a metaphor? And in unity, we still have questions about that. One way or another, it's a powerful story. The water is our emotions. This is just my take on the story. The water is our emotions. And when we're up in the head trying to figure things out, the water is all rough. But when we have the courage to be on our emotions with faith, everything is clear. Everything flattens out. And the wonderful thing about the story as well is that when we have faith and we take steps and everything starts to go all around, all we have to do is say, Lord, help me, save me, and the hand comes out to us. Being willing to ask and to trust. Powerful, powerful concepts, faith and trust. So, I've got a lot of tools to share. I'm really excited about the workshop that we're going to do. It's just an hour and 15 minutes, so it's not a big amount of time, but I'm going to share with you some really powerful, wonderful tools. And more important than whatever tools I'm sharing, I look forward just to being with you and spending some time with you and having you share with me who you are. Because that's really the gift of life, isn't it? That connection that I wanted with my brother. And when I pulled out this final quote to end with, I wasn't sure quite why I pulled it out or how it fit in, but then someone shared with me before the service about the crisis that's come up in their life. And I realized that it's really quite appropriate. This is from the play Angels in America, which was a very powerful experience for me when I saw it in New York in the original production. It's a play by Tony Kushner, and it really takes place during the middle of the AIDS crisis. And for me, the AIDS crisis was a powerful learning experience. Being gay in the early 80s in New York City, in the theater community, when we lost 90% of the creative genius that was there, and being a spiritual person involved in yoga and, in unity as well, and trying to figure out, how does this make sense? How can this be God the good? And as I moved through it, so seeing many, many friends die, I also saw, as they moved through their journey, that life was always giving them just what they needed, maybe not what they wanted. It brings me back to Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and I love to quote them. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, not just sometimes, but always, it was about caring for each other, showing up and moving through this crisis together where we didn't have the answer, but we were there for each other. And the community became stronger, and the community, the gift was, it became a world community. It wasn't just gays and lesbians and transgender people. It was gays and lesbians and their families and the straight world who began to look and open their heart to us. And the other gift about this play, it's a synchronicity thing, is when my best friend was dying of AIDS, and I was there every night in the hospital with him, and I would go during the day to my favorite spot in Central Park, the Bethesda Fountain. It's a beautiful angel, the angel of mercy that comes down, and every place she touches, fountains spring up, and that's what this fountain commemorates. And I would go there to meditate and to connect with Spirit. And when I sat there watching the play, Angels in America, which was so powerful because these were people going through crisis and learning from it and making the most of it and blossoming in the midst of this play. And this last scene takes place at the Bethesda Fountain. And the character in the play, his name is Prior. He's gone to near-death experiences. In the middle of it, he was visited by this angel who gave him a message to just keep going. That's all we can do. It's just put one foot in front of the other. And so he speaks to the audience at the end. And he says, this disease will be the end of many of us, but not nearly all. And the dead will be commemorated. We will struggle on with the living, and we are not going away. We will be citizens. The time has come. The world only moves forward. Goodbye for now. You are fabulous beings, each and every one of you. I bless you more